Hello everyone, and welcome to the Flora Files, where we dive into the world's most fascinating plants and fungi, one species at a time. You reach out with one finger and barely brush a leaf. At first, nothing. Then, like a quiet ripple, the tiny leaflets snap inward. The plant moves! The whole stem droops, collapsing as if it suddenly lost the will to stand. Plants aren't supposed to react like that. They're supposed to sway slowly, stretch toward light, grow almost imperceptibly. But this one folds up instantly, right in front of you, as if it noticed. You pull your hand back. The leaves remain closed, small and tight, making it feel less like gardening and more like you've startled an animal. Its scientific name is Mimosa pudica. The species name pudica comes from Latin, meaning shy or bashful. It's a fitting description for a plant that seems to flinch at the slightest touch. Its common names tell the same story. Sensitive plant. Touch me not. Shame plant. Botanically, it belongs to the legume family, Fabaceae. The same family as beans, peas, and clover. Like many legumes, it forms symbiotic relationships with nitrogen-fixing bacteria in its roots. In exchange for sugars from the plant, the bacteria convert atmospheric nitrogen, which plants can't directly use, into forms like ammonia that plants can absorb. This process is called nitrogen fixation. And I have to pause here to shout out nitrogen-fixing bacteria because they are responsible for more than 90% of nitrogen fixation. Why is this important? Every single protein in biology uses nitrogen. Every enzyme, every hormone, structural components, the list goes on and on. It's no surprise nitrogen is often a limiting nutrient in soils. Anyway, back to the plant stuff. By partnering with bacteria that manufacture usable nitrogen, Mimosa pudica can thrive in poor, depleted soils where other species falter. And here's an ecological twist. While it can behave invasively in some regions, it also improves soil fertility over time. As the plant grows, dies, and decomposes, it adds nitrogen-rich organic matter back into the ground, so despite its delicate look, it's surprisingly tough. It tolerates heat, it rebounds from disturbance, it produces abundant seeds, and once established, it can be difficult to remove. Mimosa pudica is native to Central and South America, where it grows in warm, humid climates. But today, it's far from confined to its original home. It has spread widely and is now naturalized throughout tropical regions around the world, parts of Asia, Africa, Australia, and the southern United States. In some places, it's simply a curiosity. In others, it's considered invasive, thriving aggressively in disturbed soils, roadsides, and open fields. At first glance, it doesn't look particularly extraordinary. It's a low-growing, sprawling plant that creeps along the ground, sometimes forming dense mats. Its leaves are delicate and fern-like, made up of many tiny paired leaflets arranged along a central stem. Each leaflet is small, symmetrical, and neatly aligned, giving the plant a soft, feathery appearance. Before you touch it, it looks almost fragile, intricate but unassuming. Then there are the flowers. Instead of large petals, Mimosa pudica produces small spherical blooms that look like pink puffballs. Each puff is actually made up of dozens of tiny flowers clustered together, their long stamens giving the bloom its fuzzy appearance. I think they look like little fireworks, frozen in time, and provide a beautiful pop of color against an otherwise plain-looking plant. So how does it actually move? The motion you're seeing is called thigmonesty, a plant movement in response to touch. Unlike growth-based movements that take hours or days, thigmonastic movements are rapid, reversible, and mechanical. They rely on pressure. At the base of each leaflet, and at the base of the entire leaf stem, there's a small, swollen structure called a pulvinus. Think of the pulvinus as a flexible hinge. It's packed with specialized cells that can quickly change their internal water pressure. Here's what happens, step by step. Step 1. Touch triggers an electrical signal. When you brush the leaf, tiny receptors in the cells detect the physical disturbance. This generates an electrical impulse similar in principle, though not identical, to signals in animal nerves. Step 2. The signal travels across the leaf. The electrical change spreads rapidly from leaflet to leaflet, moving through the plant tissue in a wave. That's why the folding looks coordinated rather than random. Step 3. Ions and water move. The electrical signal causes ion channels in the pulvinus cells to open. This causes charged particles to rush out of certain cells and then water follows them. Step 4. Cells lose pressure. As water exits, the cells lose turgor pressure, the internal water pressure that keeps plant tissues firm and upright. Step 5. The leaf folds. With reduced pressure on one side of the pulvinus, the structure collapses like a partially deflated balloon. The leaflets fold inward and the stem droops. All of this unfolds in seconds with no muscles, no brain, and no conscious decision. Just physics, chemistry, and stored energy. Afterward, the plant has to reset. Ion pumps actively move ions back into the cells. Water re-enters, turgor pressure builds again. Gradually, over several minutes, the leaflets reopen and the stem lifts back into position. If you repeatedly trigger the plant, something even stranger happens. the response weakens. The plant learns that the stimulus isn't dangerous and reduces its reaction. It conserves energy. Researchers have demonstrated this habituation effect in controlled experiments, suggesting a primitive form of memory at the cellular level. So why would a plant evolve something this dramatic? As an introvert, I empathize with the reaction, but movement costs energy. Maintaining ion gradients, pumping water back into cells, resetting the system, all of that requires metabolic work, and energy is precious. If a trait is expensive and persists across generations, it almost certainly provides a survival benefit. The leading hypothesis is herbivore defense. Imagine you're a small insect crawling across a leaf, preparing to take a bite. Suddenly the surface beneath you collapses. What looked like stable footing becomes unstable. That sudden motion may startle or dislodge insects before they can feed. For a tiny caterpillar or beetle, that shift could be enough to interrupt a meal. For larger herbivores, the effect may be different, but still useful. When the leaves fold inward and the stem droops, the plant suddenly looks wilted, limp, unhealthy, maybe even diseased. Grazing mammals often prefer robust, upright foliage. A plant that appears stressed or damaged may be less appealing. By collapsing temporarily, Mimosa pudica may reduce its attractiveness as food. There's also the surface area theory. When the leaves are spread open, they present a wide, feathery target. When folded, that surface area shrinks dramatically. Less exposed area means fewer places for insects to land and fewer edges to chew. During disturbance, whether from touch, vibration, or even heavy rain, folding up could reduce physical damage. Some researchers suggest the drooping motion may even make it harder for grazing animals to grasp the leaves efficiently. If the plant becomes temporarily compact and low to the ground, it may avoid being clipped off entirely. And of course, none of these hypotheses are mutually exclusive. A trait that slightly reduces insect feeding, slightly deters mammals, and slightly minimizes physical damage may collectively provide a strong survival advantage over time. And one thing that definitely helps with its survival is our interest in Mimosa pudica. There's a reason it shows up in plant shops, science kits, and viral videos. We love it. It feels interactive in a way most plants don't. You brush a leaf, and it responds immediately. It almost feels like it's aware of you. In classrooms, it's a fun teaching tool. For many students, this is the first moving plant they ever see. It becomes a gateway into bigger conversations about plant physiology, electrical signaling, evolution, and ecology. It challenges the quiet assumption that plants are passive background organisms. Online, it thrives. Short clips of leaves snapping shut rack up tons of views. The movement is visually satisfying, a little surprising, and just unusual enough to feel magical. But there's a catch. Repeated touching stresses the plant. Every fold costs energy. If triggered over and over, the plant must repeatedly expend resources that could otherwise go toward growth, reproduction, or defense. Studies show that frequent stimulation can reduce overall vigor. The plant may grow more slowly if constantly provoked. So while it's fascinating to watch, it's best appreciated with restraint. So what have we learned about this small plant that likes to pout? It moves in seconds, collapsing inward at the slightest touch. It runs on hydraulics, shifting water pressure with precision and speed. It's electrically active, sending signals through its tissues without a single nerve. And beneath that dramatic response, it's quietly complex. A nitrogen-fixing legume, improving poor soils while spreading across disturbed ground. It's often the first moving plant people ever see, and reminds us that plants are doing far more than we give them credit for. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the plant world's most responsive plant species, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more strange and fascinating organisms, and drop a comment telling me which weird plant or fungus we should explore next. Because there are thousands of remarkable stories rooted in the soil.